Let's look at a new tool called the random word technique. Suppose it's Monday morning, you haven't had your coffee yet, but you've got to be creative and you really don't feel like it. How is a green belt supposed to come up with creative ideas, especially when they don't feel like it? Coming to our rescue are the works of two men, Roger Von Eck and Edward de Bono. These are two of the world's leaders in creative thinking, and one of their tools is called the random word technique. Here's how it works. Step 1. Pick a problem and be as specific as possible. Step 2. Select a totally random word that has absolutely nothing to do with your particular problem. Step 3. Ask yourself, how can this possibly help solve my problem? The genius of this technique is it forces you away from a linear thought process into a nonlinear thought process. It makes you come at your problem from a perspective or an angle that otherwise you might not have. You might ask yourself, where do we find these random words? In their books, both authors advocate looking at either a book, a magazine, or a newspaper, randomly opening to a page, closing your eyes, and picking a word. Preferably, this will be a noun or a verb, something that is very visually rich. Some people prefer to use magazines because magazines have a lot of photos in them. When you point to a picture, you've ensured the attribute that the word you come up with will be very visually rich. Here's a real example of what a green belt class did a few years ago. One of the students said, "My problem is I want to improve my golf game." We picked up a magazine, randomly opened it, and pointed to a picture of a cow. At this point, everybody's staring at me and saying, how are we possibly going to use a cow to improve this guy's golf game? Well, we started the process. We said, cows live in pastures. Golf is kind of played in a big pasture. Well, we went down that road for a minute or so and hit a dry well. We really didn't get anything from that. Next up, somebody said, cows technically are covered in cowhide. They're kind of covered in leather. What in golf is made out of leather? And someone said, well, golf gloves are. At this point, I asked the gentleman, what is it specifically about your golf game that you're hoping to improve? And he said, well, my putting. Sometimes my putts are dead on, sometimes they're really off. Well, in our discussion, it turns out that your grip is a major source of variation in a putting game. So this led to a discussion where we said, what if you got, as a solution, a pair of white golf gloves and a Sharpie marker? You fussed around with your grip until it was perfect. Then what we'll do is we'll draw a line down both of these white gloves so that whenever you grip the golf club, you simply make sure that that line is aligned and you'll have a perfect grip every time, totally eliminating this source of variation from the man's golf game. Now here's what I like about this. Number one, this was a quick win. What they came up with was very feasible. It was inexpensive. It could be done in just a couple of minutes. The tool itself only took a few minutes to go through to find this particular solution. It focused on a source of variation and eliminated that from the problem. In Six Sigma, variation is our enemy. We want to reduce this down and get rid of it as much as possible. And lastly, from the world of Lean, it employed the concept of visual management. Bottom line, this is an all-around great tool for you to have. It only takes a couple of minutes to learn. It can be applied very quickly, and we encourage you to use this on your next project.